This is Pricking the Bubble, and we have an extra bonus podcast for you because you'll recall... Oh, Dr. Raven, let me introduce you first. Welcome again, Dr. Brant Raven.
How are you, Michael Llama?
I'm okay. I'm going okay.
I'm a little bit down for the topic that we are going to discuss. In this case, I actually know what it is.
He knows. So, yep.
So go for it.
Yeah. Quick nod to Audio Pete.
Hello.
Again.
Audio Pete. We couldn't live without Audio Pete.
We couldn't.
What he provides.
We'd be talking to ourselves.
As often we've done. Go on.
We did a podcast just recently on guns, and we specifically talked about what could happen in America for them to somehow reduce their guns, maybe, or at least change their minds, because we're in Australia, in case you hadn't recognised the accents, and our gun laws are very different. Since that podcast came out, we had the unfortunate. It was almost like a double sort of massacre. So there was one in Dayton, I believe, and the other one was I can't remember where so I'm not sure. It was. It's how much we pay attention. We lose track of them all. So there were two within 48 hours, was it? Or 24 hours, maybe? The El Paso
one happened first, though.
That's true, yeah. Okay, that's right. And again, I note that nothing seems to be happening. Nothing's being done about it. And I thought it might be nice to... Not nice... timely, maybe, to just discuss some of the reactions to it.
Timely to discuss the topic a little further. And
I did want to tell you the story. I posted our podcast on Twitter, and then this thing happened. And
hang on, you should be a bit clearer than that. You posted the podcast on Twitter.
Yep.
And you did promotion of
our podcast, yep,
which was specifically on gun control.
Yep.
And you did that after the El Paso massacre happened, the shooting happened.
Yeah.
Right? So after that particular shooting. And tell the audience what happened.
Well, I got some feedback. So there were some people who were giving a thumbs up, but there was also someone who questioned my timing.
Right.
And they said, "Are you seriously promoting a podcast about this sort of thing?" It's like, well, hold on a minute.
Right, and you came back to me and said,
I said, I can't believe what's going on.
You came back to me and said, Dr. Raven, this is what's happened. And I said, give me that guy's details. I want to get on there and tell him he's a complete fucking idiot.
Yes.
Right.
Needless to say, I said I won't be doing that.
Right.
Because
I'm glad you didn't, because I'm a very I can be abrasive in that way. Right, I can be very black and white in that way. No racism intended.
Yeah.
But you're not like that. You're like, let me hear what you've got to say.
I like to be a little bit more measured.
Let me persuade you.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why this podcast works, right?
Mm.
Because you're far more measured. I am less so measured. Right.
I do say, I have said that you you respond with your emotions a bit more.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Which is fine.
I like to be. I'd like to think I am a very rational person, but I do bring emotion into the system.
Which is all right.
But anyway, so this guy came back to you and said, what the F are you doing?
Yeah.
A massacre's just happened, and you're using that to promote your podcast on gun control.
Mm.
Right. I don't think he was necessarily against the idea of gun control. He was more against the idea that you're promoting this podcast.
He was also an Australian, which was interesting as well.
Right.
So it wasn't an American.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yep.
Which I thought was... I don't know whether maybe that was telling, or I'm not sure. It seemed I would have thought an American might have had a go at me, but no, the people who maybe it comes down to who supports gun control. There might be the sorts of people who would see my tweets.
Right,
I guess.
But let's not run away from it. What then happened? What happened? How did you respond to this guy?
Well, first of all, I was. Trying to establish what his problem was, so what it was that he was objecting to, and I just got to look through my tweets. Unfortunately,
no, don't. I don't think you should read out the tweets.
No, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was that the conversation.
But anyway, we don't need it word for word. You basically tried to respond to the guy and have a discussion with him to understand where he was coming from, but then most importantly, you made a point and said. Didn't you make a point and say, right, when would be the right massacre?
That's right.
The shootings in the US happen so often and they are reported so often.
Yeah.
When would it be the right time?
Well, one of the things that is the big comeback that a lot of people say, apart from their thoughts and prayers, which they always post, is it's too soon to discuss this.
Yeah.
But within 24 hours, there was another mass shooting.
Right.
And the time between shootings, when presumably someone thinks, oh, well, you have to find the right time between it, it's so short that there is actually no time. There is no right time. You can't give the victims, you can't give the families of the victims, you can't give the next victims enough space, enough time, enough respect for them to grieve or whatever it is they need to do.
Yeah.
To not bring this topic up. You have to bring the topic up at some time, because if you wait for there to be no gun massacres, you never get it. Nothing gets said.
The gun shootings in the US are so overlapping.
There were two, that was number two. The second one of those was number
12
250.
Yeah.
Number 250 for the year.
And it happened within 12 hours, 11 hours, I think.
But there were also fewer days in the year that had passed. So it's a case of there is no downtime for you to recover. I mean, you're not going to. Who recovers from a freaking mass shooting like that? There is no downtime for you to take things on board and come to terms with what's happened before the next one happens. So you actually become numb to all this. And I know that people will be upset. I get that. I see the people being upset about it, and you can continue upset, but there has to be a point at which you just think, oh, for frig's sake, I've got to stop being upset and actually freaking do something. And it just gave me... I couldn't understand that the argument was, well, come on, show some respect and don't bag these people or don't try and promote your thing. You're not being very respectful. Oh, you know what? Get stuffed. There's an element of needing to talk about this now. You can't just keep pushing it off. But you know what? They've pushed it off again. Nothing's going to happen. Has anything happened? No, that's right. The room goes silent. No one has done anything. And it just does my head in. Now, I'd have to go over here and have a rant in the air. You talked for a minute.
Well, the pro-gun lobby used that as a defence to shut down discussion. Oh, it's too early. People are grieving.
They
You can't
always
talk about it
fucking
now.
do that.
It's always done. Oh, now's not the time to talk about law changing. And then the next one happens, and then it starts again. So it's a mechanism to shut down discussion.
Absolutely, it is. And again, the way we concluded the podcast on gun control, I said, in the States, it's never going to change. It's never going to be different. I stand by that completely. It'll never change. It'll never be different. And you know what? Very, very importantly, stop calling yourselves the land of the free. You are not the land of the free. You are the land of the gilded cage. You guys live in a cage. That's what you do. There's no freedom.
You know what the other thing was that really caught my eye was there was a cartoon that one of the newspaper people had done, and it showed a cartoon of the New Zealand Prime Minister giving a hug to members of the public after the, where was it, Christchurch shooting? Mm-hmm. And then in the same thing it showed Trump giving a hug to someone dressed in combat gear. It's in a country like New Zealand, or even here, I would say, the sympathy goes to the people who have been wronged, as you would say. But in America, it's the immediate thing is, oh, we feel really sorry, but no, you're not doing anything about the guns, and we're going to stand up for our rights. So suddenly, the victim becomes the people who own the guns,
yes,
rather than the actual victims of the crime.
Yes,
yes. So,
and again, let's be clear why that is, though. Let's be absolutely clear why that is, because if the country, the US, was living in a political situation as they were in their history, where you could find that they were going to basically the government of the day or the ruling parties of the day were going to come in and invade your house. You couldn't blame them for having guns. You would understand this, right? But that's not the case at all.
No.
Right? The case here is It's simply the propping up of an industry.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. It's the propping up of an industry, right? And that's what I said to you when all this came out. In fact, I think I sent you a message and I tweeted this to you, and I said, in fact, I think I tweeted this on Twitter, and I basically said that Americans need to realise that they have made it acceptable for random individuals to die throughout the year in order to prop up a single industry. That's it. Bottom line. Accept it. That's what you've done. Fuck off.
You know, what's even more offensive about it, and we have recently been talking about Neil deGrasse Tyson here. He posted something which is true, but also I'm not sure the timing was terribly brilliant, where it showed that the deaths in other areas, or from medical problems, or what's the wording of it when you poorly treated or mistreatment of misdiagnosed, whatever it is.
Yeah.
All these things are higher. The road accidents are higher. All this sort of stuff. And guns was, somewhere down the list. I see that as being, you're introducing something else that's irrelevant to try and prove a point that this isn't relevant, that the guns thing is not a problem. It bothered me because it was, it's again another prominent person, but there were a couple of prominent people around who were downplaying it.
Also, he was actually in
he's copped a bit of bagging, I would say.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what his point was that he was trying to make. But it came across as saying, we should. I'm sure he was trying to say we should look at these other areas as well, rather than dismissing that. But it came across as a dismissal of the level of gun violence.
What he was probably trying to demonstrate was the usage of statistics and how they can be used to misrepresent something when you compare something else.
Yeah,
but again, I don't think that's necessarily a valid point.
No, and that's very unhelpful when you've already got people who are making the point. You're coming from a position where the people who want the guns are already winning this argument.
Look, I want to say I just told everyone about 2 minutes ago to fuck off. I apologise.
He does that occasionally.
I shouldn't do that. I really need to stop swearing. But whenever I do swear, I'm doing it because I'm really passionate about what I'm saying, and I'm really passionate about
swearing.
I'm really passionate about things that don't make sense, and I really find it ridiculous that other people can't see what I see. I don't think I'm a special person. I don't think that I've got any special vision or intelligence compared to the ordinary person. I think about things a lot, but I'm just saying I get really angry that other people can't see it. And I can't see how a nation like the US, which has got a really deep and interesting history, like a lot of nations do, can't simply get together and say, you know what, we're no longer going to prop up this industry. We need to get rid of the guns. I can't see how this nation can't see this. It blinds me completely how a nation of people simply can't see it.
The part that I also noticed was a bit dodgy is that they're saying, oh, well, we need to improve the background checks of people. It's like, oh, you're really you're fiddling at the edges. It's like there's a big turd in the middle of the room, and you're kind of brushing the fluff around from the edges.
Look, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yes, you do need to improve the background checks. Yes, you do need to do a lot of other things to make sure that guns don't fall into the wrong hands. But how about get rid of the guns? Right? If you get rid of the guns, then nothing can fall into the wrong hands.
And not all the guns. Again, I'm my compromise, as far as an Australian person's attitude matters, my compromise is have some of them, but you don't need that. No one's going around and killing all these people in mass shootings with a small handgun with 6 bullets in it. Oh, hold on, I've shot 6 of you, let me reload. No one's doing that. They're doing it with things that can shoot a whole bunch of people in one go. And I've yet to hear a reason why people think that stuff's okay.
But again,
they're only ever used for this instance. No one's like, well, I'm out on the farm and I need to cull some of my stock. Let me just...
And I need to do so quickly.
I need to do it in a minute. No, these things are not built for recreational use. They're not built for any other reason than actually killing people.
But again,
I know guns kill people. No, people kill people. That's fine. Let them do it a bit slower.
It comes down to a lot of the arguments that are made when we have these sorts of discussions, it comes down to people's arrogance.
Yeah.
That's what it really is. And when you think about it carefully, it's all about arrogance. It's all about my right to have a gun, my right to do this. I would be far more, and you hear the reasons why people have, I've got to protect my family, I've got to protect my home, I've got to protect my business. Look, stop bullshitting me, stop bullshitting yourself. If you've got a gun, the ideal place to be keeping it is a gun safe, because you don't want your little kid finding
accidentally
the gun,
kill your
right?
freaking child. Yeah.
So it's in a gun safe. And if someone breaks into your house, you're not running to your gun safe to open your safe to get the gun. So arguably, if your gun's in the gun safe, it's fucking useless. Okay? So that's the first point I would make. So don't disrespect my brain by telling me that you've got a gun to protect your family. Just come out and tell me you like guns. How about that? If you said to me, you know what? I like guns, and I don't want anyone taking away the guns that I like. I've got a bit more respect for you now, right?
Yeah, I still think you're a bit of a twat.
Oh, absolutely, but I've got a little bit more respect.
But at least you're being
honest about
You're not
it, right?
bullshitting.
You're being honest about it, right? So that's what I'm saying, right? As a nation, you know what? I have no interest in. I will not pray for you. I will not pray for your people, and I have no interest in showing you any sympathy whatsoever. None whatsoever. I'm sorry. You're not getting that out of me, because as a nation, you guys have decided to prop up an industry, and in doing so, you've decided that some random deaths is okay. A bunch of massacres of random people that we all don't know, that's okay, just so an industry is propped up. And you can reverse that decision tomorrow. When you reverse that decision tomorrow, then I'll have respect. Then I'll pray. Well, I won't, because I don't believe in a God. But
we nearly caught him out then.
No. But then I will have respect, and I will acknowledge that respect, and I will love what you do, because then it's when you've then decided that to put people above the industry that you're trying to support.
I was looking at the. You're familiar with the Sandy Hook massacre from a couple of years back?
Yes.
With all those primary school age children were killed.
How horrible!
4 and 5 year olds or 6, 7 type thing. And I wonder how a 5-year-old would respond. Someone who was shot and killed, if they had a voice, how they would respond if you said, "Well, I'm actually doing nothing about what happened to you."
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there were some responses, weren't there? It's there were some.
How's that working for them?
Well, it's not working for them. Again, they need. I keep hearing it's part of American culture. It's part of this. It's part of that. Fine, I understand that. Change your culture. Change your culture. There's no reason to say that you can't change things. Look what happened to slavery. Well, some would argue that there are still slaves in America. There are still slaves in the world. But there's a lot of differences now. Change your freaking culture. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. Be aware. Please just be aware. You've made a decision to let people die to prop up an industry. If that's an acceptable decision, then fine. Keep accepting it. But don't ask for my sympathy and my prayers, because you've made that decision. You're not going to get my sympathy. You're not going to get my prayers. And I don't really care about the next massacre that happens. I don't, because you've propped up your own freaking industry. That's something you've done. It's not something I've done. Why do I give you my sympathy? Fuck you.
Anyway, we'll
really,
wrap up.
I'm really sorry. I don't like being like that. I'm really sorry. I don't like being like that. But it makes me angry. Mike, it really makes me angry.
You have more passion than most of them. So
it really makes me angry that a fucking nation of people, right, with an interesting history, hasn't fucking learned a thing, right? They sit there and they will not change that culture only because they want to prop up a fucking industry. And no politician in their realm has decided that they're going to jump in and make these changes. That's fucking reprehensible. Yeah. How can they not be angry about this? How can the people in the US not fucking be angry? How can they not be angry about this?
It's as you said, they've been sold a narrative that what's more important is to have your gun and have your rights.
Well,
simple as
that.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. But this is it. right? So are these people, is this a nation of stupidity then, that can't think for themselves, that can't see beyond the narrative?
No, I think
is this the conclusion we need to draw?
I don't think there's a difference
Because
between
we get sold multiple narratives, even here in Australia.
Yeah.
And some of us, and I'll include myself, are able to see beyond that narrative, right?
Yeah, but when one is fundamental to who your own identity, it's very hard. You're not going to chop off your arm. This is the same as feeling like you have to chop off your arm.
Yeah, I get that. And again, look, I apologise to our listeners. I don't like.
We should issue an apology at the end of each podcast for who we've offended.
I want you guys to listen to this podcast for the passion that we bring to it, and I bring a lot of passion. It's not that Mike isn't passionate; he's just measured, right? Whereas often I'm not. I apologise that I swear a lot. I need to stop doing that, but I am very passionate about some of these topics, and I'm not putting it on. I am.
No, he's not. This is it. These things
I'm actually
do trigger.
very, very passionate, and it does trigger me.
Yeah.
And you know, again, I don't want to sound like that I'm being insensitive. I don't want to see any more of these shootings. I'm sick of hearing about them every day. Please make it stop, guys. Make it stop.
Speaking of stopping, on that note, this was an abbreviated Pricking the Bubble. Hopefully we'll come back with a more pleasant topic next time. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.